Yo, I thought I knew my coffee. I've brewed hundreds of cups, dialed in countless beans, and trusted my taste buds. But this year, I've been humbled. 3 different coffees, one tasted like cilantro, one punched me in the face with bitterness, and the other one was just weird. I was ready to write them all off. A few weeks later, with just a few tweaks, the same coffees went from never again to where have you been all my life. In today's video, I'm gonna tell you how I'll turn my least favorite cups into cups that I just couldn't stop drinking. Let's get it. Now, if you're watching this channel, you like myself probably love coffee. The aroma, the ritual, and the adventure in every single cup. So when a coffee connoisseur gifted me a high quality bag of coffee beans, I was super excited. I couldn't wait to try it, but what did I taste? Cilantro, straight up cilantro. Now, I live in Mexico and cilantro is everywhere and it's on everything. And here in the Yucatan, they put cilantro on stuff that doesn't even need cilantro, but this coffee was from Veracruz. Now, I live in Mexico and cilantro is everywhere and it's on everything. And here in the Yucatan, they put cilantro on stuff that doesn't even need cilantro, but this coffee was from Veracruz. And when I tell you that I tasted cilantro, I had to make sure that I wasn't crazy. So I asked my 9-year-old daughter to try it out for me. She takes a sip, smiles, and says, that's good. Tastes like cilantro. She loves cilantro, but me, not so much. Sure enough, right on the bag and the tasting notes, cilantro. Now, I should point out that I usually avoid looking at the tasting notes. I feel like there are spoilers to the story and should be hidden on the packaging rather than being right there out front, ruining my expectations for the coffee. I would rather only look at the tasting notes after I've made an informed decision about how I feel about the coffee. But I digress. Since getting really serious about my coffee preparation and drinking experience in January, I've had a bunch of really good coffee, and those that didn't really qualify as really good, I could always find some redeeming quality in them. But this was the first coffee I thought was absolutely undrinkable, and I proceeded to do the unthinkable. So I poured it out and saved the bag as a reminder of the one that I just didn't like. This wouldn't be the last coffee that would fall into this category of my least favorite. My brother in Christ, Marcus, who's from Brazil and has an extensive knowledge of the coffee of Brazil and is a coffee aficionado like myself, gifted me a bag of specialty Robusta from Brazil. I'd only had Robusta in blends. I'd never had it as a single origin coffee, so I was super hyped to try it. So I brewed it on my next level Pulsar using my standard recipe, 24 grams of coffee ground at 13 on my Time More C3S, 1 minute bloom, then pulse pour 25 milliliters of water every 5 to 6 seconds up to 300 milliliters. This is my standard recipe that I've used on dozens of coffee since getting the Pulsar. Now, the smell right away was a bit strange when I opened the bag. Dry grounds smell green like grass. Wet, the smell was completely different. It smelled like incense or burning spices. When I started this process of brewing this coffee, the bloom even rose like a baked bread dough. So it was absorbing the water. It was just really, really different. Everything about this Robusta was really different. And as soon as I tried it, the taste was like bam! Strong, bitter, and woody, tobacco even, a hint of vanilla and some unsweetened chocolate notes. It wasn't awful, but definitely not what I was used to and not my style. I was a bit disappointed because this coffee was a gift that traveled all the way from Brazil to reach me, and honestly, it just wasn't one of my favorites, so onto the shelf it went. Now, the third coffee I bought a few weeks later when I visited Amatodos, which is a specialty multi-roaster coffee shop here in Merida. Now, they brew literally every method, hence the name Amatodos. That's where the Merida coffee purists hang out. Those are my type of people. Last time I was there, one of the coffee purists, Chris, gave me an incredible Colombian coffee. It was unlike anything I had tried before. And so I'd been on a hunt to try to find other Colombian coffees or to find that particular Colombian coffee again. I grabbed a bag of Colombian coffee from Manhattan Coffee Roasters, this one, and it is from Colombia. It's a natural process. but it is one of the most expensive bags that I've tried. But at home, when I brewed it, this coffee was nothing like the one Chris had given me a few weeks ago. And to be honest, it was just too fruity and it had a bit of a funky taste. Now, I forced myself through a few cups, but honestly, I was ready to weigh out 1,000 grams of this coffee and make it into a cold brew just to use it up. But then things changed for me. I stopped by a small no-frills coffee shop in an old colonial house in Centro on Paseo de Montejo. Now, my expectations were low for my first interaction with the waiter. He told me that all of their coffee was Chiapas, and all I saw up front was an espresso machine with a hopper full of beans. So I ordered a Chiapas on AeroPress. They did have an AeroPress beside the espresso machine. But the cup, when it arrived to the table, it was bright, it was tea-like, and it was delicious. It was super sweet. And guess what? It wasn't from Chiapas at all. It was the same Colombian, this guy, that I had at home. After talking to the barista that made it, I had to know exactly what he did with this AeroPress to take this coffee that I'd been brewing at home and make it into such a delicious cup. He nailed it. This barista was incredible. He took time with me. He nailed this coffee. He even showed me the grind size that he used, gave me a little sample to bring home to compare it to my grind size, and instructed me on how to make a better cup at the house. His AeroPress recipe used a much coarser grind, closer to a French press than what I'd been using at 14 on my Time War C3S. He shared with me the grind size, I adjusted my settings, and suddenly the same coffee I thought was too fruity and funky was amazing. So that got me thinking, what about the other two coffees that I had put on the shelf? With the cilantro coffee, I used the bigger grind size, I lowered the water temperature and brewed it on the Pulsar, and boom, sweet, bright, acidic, and no cilantro. It's actually what I'm drinking right now. That's how much this coffee has become my favorite. The Robusto coffee, with the same adjustments, bigger grind size, lower water temperature, and wow, the cup was good. I called Marcus and I was like, bro, the next time you're in town, you need to come by and get a cup of this coffee. So the first time I had it, it was ground at like 12 to 13, the same that I would do for a V60 or a pour over. This is ground more coarser, closer to maybe even a French press, and I use the next level. So let's see what the reaction is for Marcus. Ooh. Wow. Wow.
You know, Monty just did a really good job with this. And I'm telling you that, hey, this morning I had some other cold brew, I had some other flavors. This just knocked the flavor out. So, you know, congratulations, Monty.
Thanks, sir.
This actually may be something that I need to take a lesson on the process. So I'm looking forward to that. Hey, it's not every day that you can have a Robusta. You know, Brazil's one of the few places that actually can grow due to the climate in various parts and the size of the country, and so we've lucked out to have this opportunity.
Yeah, this is a special opportunity. So here's what I learned. Don't give up on coffee if it doesn't hit on the first brew. Let it rest a few weeks. Change your grind size, adjust your water temperature, switch up your methods even. Sometimes the coffee you hate just isn't being brewed the way it wants to be. And when you get it right, it might just surprise you and say how you like me now. All right, Brew Crew, same love, new cup. I'm out.